A very good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Beetv Global News at 12. I am Ruth Ogbodu and now the news in detail. Rain fell in Iran's capital this week for the first time in months, bringing brief relief to residents after what officials describe as the driest autumn in more than 5 decades. The long-awaited showers ended a prolonged spell of dry weather, but experts warn the rainfall is far from enough to ease the country's worsening water crisis. The report. President Donald Trump's large-scale deployment of National Guard troops to several U.S. cities in 2025 has sparked sweeping legal battles, with judges in multiple states ruling that the administration oversteps its authority. Despite the pushback, National Guard personnel remain on federal duty in parts of the country as court proceedings continue. The report. A federal judge has granted the Justice Department's request to lift long-standing secrecy orders in the Jeffrey Epstein criminal cases, clearing the way for the release of grand jury's transcripts and other materials under the newly enacted Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed into law last month by President Donald Trump. The report.
The Justice Department moved swiftly after the law took effect, firmly asking multiple courts to dissolve protective orders that had kept a large portion of the Epstein investigation sealed for years. The statute requires the DOJ to release all unclassified records related to Epstein and his network and override rules that typically shield grand jury proceedings from public view. On December 10th, U.S. District Judge Richard M. Berman approved the DOJ's motion, reversing his earlier position and ordering the unsealing of about 70 pages of grand jury materials tied to Epstein's 2019 sex trafficking indictment. The documents include an FBI agent hearsay testimony, exhibits such as call logs, and a PowerPoint presentation shown to the grand jury. Berman described the material as limited and hardly revelatory, cautioning that it may not substantially disband the public's understanding of the broader case. U.S. District Judge Paul A. Engelmeyer authorized the release of grand jury transcripts and investigative records from 2021 prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell. A federal judge in Florida has also unsealed transcripts from an earlier embedded grand jury probe into Epstein dating back to the 2000s. The material now eligible for release represents only a small share of the government's extensive Epstein-related files. The DOJ has indicated that the full collection could contain tens of thousands of pages, including FBI reports, witnesses and survivor interviews, photographs, videos, electronic device data, autopsy records, and travel documentation such as flight logs. Prosecutor says they will work closely with victims to ensure names and identifying information are redacted to protect privacy and safety. Victims' attorneys have welcomed the ruling, saying the court the unsealing a significant step towards transparency and accountability in a case that has long generated speculation about Epstein's associate and the institution that enabled him. Under the law, the Justice Department has until December 19 to begin releasing the unsealed documentation in a searchable public format. Additional files will be processed and disclosed on a rolling basis, subject to redaction requirement. Public interest remains high as the federal courts prepare to release materials that have been hidden for years. Although judges caution that some of the initial documents may offer limited new information, the broader trove of files could shed further light on Epstein's operation and the scope of those connected to him, as Soher Osemegi reported for Beetv News.
U.S. forces have seized a Venezuelan oil tanker off the country's coast, President Donald Trump announced Wednesday, marking a major escalation in tensions with President Nicolas Maduro's government. The vessel, identified as the Skipper, was intercepted as part of a U.S. effort to enforce sanctions targeting illicit oil shipments, including those linked to Iran and extremist network. The reports.
The tanker reportedly carried 1.8 to 2 million barrels of heavy crude, with roughly half destined for a Cuban state-ending quota. The operation involved multiple U.S. agencies, including the FBI, Homeland Security Investigation, and the Coast Guard, with support from the U.S. Navy. President Trump described the seizure as the largest one ever carried out by the United States. The Venezuelan government condemned the action, calling it theft and an act of international piracy, and accused the United States of attempting to seize control of Venezuela's natural resources. The move has further heightened diplomatic tensions and raised concerns about potential escalation. While details such as the tanker's exact location, registration, and ultimate fate of the oil remain unclear, U.S. authorities maintain that the seizure targets a vessel involved in smuggling operations that violated existing sanctions. The Skipper incident underscores a shift from financial sanctions and diplomatic pressure towards direct maritime enforcement, signaling a more aggressive U.S. posture in its campaign against Venezuela's oil exports. Analysts are closely monitoring potential impacts on global oil market and regional stability, as Soher Osemegi reporting for Beetv News.
Democrat Ellen Higgins has won the Miami mayor's race, defeating Republican Emilio Gonzalez, who was endorsed by President Donald Trump in a decisive runoff election that marks a historic political shift in the city. Higgins' victory on December 9, 2025 ends nearly 3 decades of Republican control of City Hall and gives Democrats momentum ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. According to unofficial results, Higgins secured approximately 59% of the vote compared with 41% for Gonzalez, an 18-point margin of victory. Higgins, a former Miami-Dade County Commissioner, becomes the first Democratic mayor of Miami in nearly 30 years and the first woman ever elected to lead the city. Government transparency and efficient city services, emphasizing outreach across political lines in the diverse majority Hispanic city. Gonzalez, a former city manager, received high-profile endorsement from Republican leaders, including President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Despite these endorsements, Gonzalez considered on election night, congratulating Higgins and offering his support for her upcoming term. Although Miami's mayoral race is officially not participant, the contest drew national attention due to its symbolic significance. Republicans had controlled the mayor's office for nearly 28 years, and the loss of a Trump-endorsed candidate in a major city is seen as a sign of shifting voter attitude. Voter turnout in the runoff was robust, with Higgins drawing strong support across city districts. particularly among independents and Hispanic voters. She succeeded outgoing Republican Mayor Francis Suarez, who was term-limited. In her victory speech, Higgins promised ethical, accountable leadership and to champion the needs of Miami residents. And when it's interpreted by Democratic leaders as evidence that well-organized local campaign can succeed in competitive political terrain, even in areas traditionally dominated by Republicans. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said the national elections will be held within the next few months if security can be guaranteed by international partners and legal barriers lifted. The statement comes after repeated criticism from the US President Donald Trump, who has accused Ukraine of delaying elections under the pretext of the ongoing war with Russia. He reports. And now to the business news. The Economic Community of West African States Commission has announced that all air ticket taxes in the region will be abolished by January 1st, 2026, as part of an initiative to make air travel more affordable and enhance regional integration. The decision is aimed at reducing the high cost of flights in West Africa, which have long been a barrier to trade, tourism, and economic growth across the region. The report.
The Director of Transport and Telecommunication at the ECOWAS Commission, Chris Appiah, explains that the move followed years of research that highlighted West African status as having the most expensive air transport services on the continent. Appiah pointed out that these costs are primarily driven by government-imposed taxes and aviation charges, which have inflated ticket prices. These taxes are against the International Civil Aviation Organization guideline and suppress demand rather than support growth, he added. From 1st January 2026, the heads of state have agreed that all member states should remove tax on the air transport director confirmed. The move is part of ECOWAS' broader strategy to strengthen regional integration, which relies heavily on connectivity. The federal government on Thursday announced that the newly launched power sector liquidity bond, designed to settle decade-long 4 trillion naira debt owed to electricity generation companies, will be fully captured in the country's medium-term expenditure framework. A move officials say strengthens its credibility and guarantees repayment. This will also increase the nation's public debt by 4 trillion naira. Speaking at a visual investor forum convened by the Federal Ministry of Finance and Power, top government officials and financial advisors said the debt instrument, backed by a sovereign guarantee, is central to the presidential power sector debt reduction program and marks the administration board's attempt yet to restore confidence in Nigeria's troubled electricity supply industry. President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday expressed grave displeasure over the backlog of unpaid federal contractors and set up a high-level committee to resolve the bottlenecks and fund repayment. Briefing State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja, Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, said the president was upset after learning that about 2,000 contractors are owed. Favor Kolawole reporting for Beetv News.
And moving on to the entertainment news. Laila Charani, the fourth wife of billionaire politician Ned Nwoko, has stirred fresh reactions online after wiping her entire Instagram page. A quick check on her verified Instagram account shows that all her photos and videos have been deleted, leaving the page completely empty. The report.
Her sudden action has fueled the speculation, especially because it comes just days after Ned Nwoko publicly praised her, describing Laila as calm, private and uninterested in clout chasing. He also said she is the woman he loves and cherishes, adding that her quiet strength amazes him every day. According to him, he will always stand by her and protect her. The timing of her Instagram wipe has raised questions, with many wondering if something is happening behind the scene or if Layla simply wants a fresh start online. This development comes shortly after the Regina Downie marital saga involving her estranged husband. Layla publicly showed support for Ned, claiming Regina almost made her lose her marriage due to bad influence. In another development, Nollywood actress Regina Daniels has sparked massive reactions online after openly embracing her Christian faith, while her marriage to billionaire politician Ned Nwoko remains in serious crisis. The mother of two, who is currently in London, got many people talking when she shared a cheerful video vibing to Tim Godfrey's gospel hit, Big God. Her caption, "God is my guy, Sha," and her special last-born type shit quickly went viral on social media. The man who rushed and grabbed Ariana Grande at a Wicked for Good event in Singapore was kicked out of a Lady Gaga concert on Tuesday in Australia. According to video shared on social media, John Wen, who goes by Pyjama Man on Instagram, was spotted by fans before the Mayhem Ball tour started at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. Wen was then seen being escorted out of the venue by security. In a video posted on X by a concert goer, people could be heard shouting for Wen to be removed. "Get him out of here," one person yelled to applause and cheers. And that's it on the entertainment news. Evelyn is even reporting for Beetv News.
And now to sports. Manchester United came from behind to beat Real Madrid 2-1 on Wednesday in the Champions League and leave Xabi Alonso's position as coach of the Spanish Giants in grave danger. Without injured superstar Kylian Mbappe, Madrid took the lead through Rodrigo, but Nico O'Reilly and Erling Haaland penalty secured Pep Guardiola's City the 3 points. Spanish media reported in the lead up to the game that a defeat would seal Alonso's fate as Madrid coach, although his team performance was creditable despite the eventual outcome at a frustrated Bernabeu Stadium. The record 15-time Champions League winners have now won just 2 of their last 8 matches across all competitions and face a battle for a place in the top 8 of the league phase table. Alonso was forced to leave his team's top scorer, Mbappe, on the bench, saying it would have been a risk to lose him amid knee discomfort, and starting 21-year-old striker Gonzalo Garcia instead. And that will be all on our 12 p.m. Global News. Thank you for joining and stay tuned for our 3 p.m. news updates. I am Ruth Ogbodu. Goodbye for now.